Hello, Ms. Weaver. My name is Joe Andrasko. And this is my speech that I'm about to give on whether or not you should go to the dentist. My audience is behind me, my coworkers here. We're going to do a slow pan so everyone can wave. All right, Tanner, just let me know when you're ready.
You're on.
Good. Going to the dentist, is it bad for you? Obviously, there are a lot of good reasons to regularly go to the dentist. However, dentists also use equipment that emit x-rays. Are these x-rays harmful to you? My name is Joe Andrasko, and I have 7 years experience as a certified installer of dental products with Carestream Dental, and I'm going to talk to you today about radiation. I'm going to define what radiation is, we're going to discuss common sources of radiation, and we're going to discuss how radiation is used in a dentist's office. First, it's helpful to understand exactly what X-rays are and EM radiation is. This is the electromagnetic spectrum, EM radiation. It is ordered from radiation with low power, such as radio waves or microwaves, to radiation with high power, such as X-rays or gamma rays. You can see that light comprises a very small section of the EM spectrum. Visible light is obviously visible to the human eye, comprising the very small part of the spectrum, and we know that EM radiation can pass through matter. This is easily demonstrable by taking a piece of paper and holding it up to a lamp or a light. We can see that some of the light comes through. More powerful EM radiation, such as X-rays, can penetrate matter that is more dense or thicker. It is this characteristic of X-rays that we use to image the inside of the human body. Unfortunately, it is also this characteristic of X-rays that can be dangerous. This image is supplied by the FCC Office of Engineering and Technology. EM radiation exists as both a wave and a particle. High energy radiation can strike subatomic structures such as DNA and cause damage. In this example, we see a high energy photon striking DNA and causing damage. This damage can be replicated, causing mutation, which could eventually cause cancer. X-ray radiation that has this characteristic is referred to as ionizing radiation. When we discuss ionizing radiation, it's important to discuss what terms we use to quantify that radiation. You might have heard the term rad or rem being used in the past. Rads and rems are not terms that are used these days. They've been replaced by the gray and the sievert, respectively. A gray is a unit of measure of radiation. It measures the amount of ionizing radiation that can be absorbed by 1 kilogram of matter. A sievert is essentially the same thing. It's the amount of ionizing radiation that can be absorbed by 1 kilogram of matter, except that kilogram of matter is biological tissue, human tissue. So that means that sieverts are most often used when talking about biological exposures in people or animals. So now that we understand a little bit about X-rays, let's talk about how X-rays are used in dentistry. This image here is of a hygienist about to take an X-ray on a patient. You can see that she's positioning the X-ray source outside of the patient, and the sensor is positioned inside the patient's mouth. When the X-ray source is activated, X-rays will travel through the patient's teeth, striking the sensor. The resulting X-ray image is displayed here in the lower right-hand corner. X-rays display images from light to dark. Areas that are light are very dense, and areas that are dark represent lower density areas. In this image, you can see that the patient has had fillings done in their molars. These fillings show up as a bright white because the metal used in the amalgam is much more dense than the surrounding bone and tooth tissue. This type of image is referred to as a periapical. A periapical image is an image of a single tooth, and it's used to detect caries or other pathology that a patient might have. Typically, in an office environment, you would take around 20 of these types of X-rays to form a full mouth series. A periapical X-ray may represent around 2 microsieverts of radiation dose to a patient. This is an example of a panoramic X-ray image. Panoramic X-rays are designed to get all of the teeth in one shot, including the condyles of the jaw. This image might be taken if you're about to have oral surgery, for instance, if you're about to have your wisdom teeth out. Panoramic X-ray exposure is typically in the range of about 8 microsieverts. This image is a cephalometric X-ray. It's an X-ray that images the entire skull, including the soft tissues of the face. Cephalometric images are primarily used by orthodontists, and they're used when you're about to get braces typically. Cephalometric x-rays represent about 5 microsieverts of radiation exposure. This set of images is a 3D image taken with a cone beam computer tomography system. CBCT systems are new in dentistry. They're used by dentists to image areas that previously were unavailable with 2D imaging. With this increased capability, however, there is an increase in dosage. CBCT machines typically expose the patient to around 300 microsieverts of radiation. So now that we understand how x-rays are used in a dentist's office, let's talk about common sources of EM radiation that you're exposed to on a daily basis. This image was supplied by the Australian Nuclear Safety Agency. It shows a variety of sources of of EM exposure that you can be exposed to on a daily basis. Cosmic radiation from outer space penetrates the Earth's atmosphere, causing us to be exposed to ionizing radiation. The EPA also warns us that we are exposed to radioactive gases and minerals every day. An example of radioactive gas would be radon. Houses today are commonly screened for radon exposure. Radioactive minerals can be found in bricks used in construction of houses. So living in brick houses or working in a brick environment could cause you to be exposed to an increased radiation dose. And of course, solar radiation is something that we're all exposed to every day. So that means spending a little time at the beach may mean a little bit extra radiation dosage for you. How do these sources of radiation exposure compare with what's done at the dentist's office? We mentioned the cephalometric x-ray at 5 microsieverts and the panoramic x-ray at 8 microsieverts. The Radiological Society of North America estimates that people are exposed to approximately 8 microsieverts of radiation from normal background environmental sources on a daily basis. Furthermore, there are other situations in which you can be exposed to increased radiation dosage. As I mentioned, living in a brick house could account for an extra 130 microsieverts of radiation a year. Living at high altitude, such as living in Denver, could account for 240 microsieverts of radiation per year, owing to the fact that you're protected less from the atmosphere at higher elevations. This chart, also supplied by the Australian Nuclear Safety Agency, shows that medically diagnostic imaging accounts for approximately 33% of total radiation exposure from natural background sources. So while this 33% is significant, it also fits in as a percentage of the total amount of radiation that you're exposed to on a daily basis from a number of sources. Furthermore, this includes all medical diagnostic imaging, of which dental diagnostic imaging would only be a small fraction, owing to the fact that medical imaging typically is at a much higher exposure rate than dental. So should you go to the dentist? Things to remember. The doctors are trained to limit your exposure to unnecessary x-rays. Doctors don't order x-rays unless you need them. Also, you're exposed to radiation every day from a variety of sources, whether it's going to the beach, whether it's living in a brick house, whether it's taking a flight at high altitude. Declining diagnostic information from a dentist or doctor can be harmful to you. They use these pieces of information to diagnose pathologies that, if they don't catch early, could cause problems with your health. So consider the benefits and the risks of going to the dentist and having x-rays done versus not having them done. But always remember that getting the x-rays done from the dentist is probably more effective, or about as effective, is probably worth it compared to going to the beach for a day.